Welcome back to Comedy Trap House News. It's your boy Marvin Telp, and we are live again, second week in a row. You're welcome. Welcome back to Comedy Trap House News. It's your boy Marvin Telp, and we are live again, still working out the bugs, ladies and gentlemen. So we are back, and we're going to start off this week with AI is tripping. Of course, AI is tripping because we're not talking about Allen Iverson, we're talking about artificial intelligence. So this week, a mom was scared straight, or shitless, or whatever, when a scammer had used AI technology to scan her daughter's voice. So she received a call from an unknown number, and on that unknown number, she heard, "Mom, help me, I've been taken by bad men." Yes, sounds like Taken One. And the problem is this mom didn't have a set of skills that were unique to get her daughter back. Mom panicked. And that's one of the issues we have with getting this technology. We have technology that's coming in that is beyond our control, our mental capacity. If you ever watch like Star Trek, they always tell you Earth's not allowed to have tech from like level 5 and above because we're fucking morons. And let me tell you why we're morons. We decided to take, which was the once wholesome Chat GPT, and someone decided to alter it, rig it up, change it a little bit, and change it to Chaos GPT. Why? And then give it the task to destroy humanity. Why? And so what does this AI do? It starts doing the job, and it finds out, oh, wait, the most dangerous nuclear missiles are in Russia, so let's go ahead and dial those up. Let me talk to my boys over there, and then they were like, ooh, let's stop it before it gets out of control. What the fuck? Like, it baffles my mind because it's like, we are literally trying to create the Terminator. We are actually, like, I talked about this before. This never ends well in movies. And here we are going, well, let's see how it goes. It doesn't go well. But here's the one thing. They said they sent this AI and they tasked it to destroy humanity. Basically, humanity is already gone. We're going to hop over to Kansas City, Missouri to discuss what happened to a young Ralph Yarl. This young 16-year-old man, Ralph Yarl, went to a house to go pick up his little brothers because that's what big brothers do, right? Mom probably said, go get your brothers. He was like, all right, I'm gonna go get them. And he went to the wrong door, which is a mistake that any kid can make because, again, they're kids. He knocks on the door and this racist old white man, they have not released his name, but we just have a picture of another racist old white man with a gun because why not? Shoots him twice in the head for knocking on his door because he didn't want him on the porch. And the good thing is Ralph right now is fighting for his life. So we're going to actually send up thoughts and prayers. I know we got black folk on this show. So, hey, y'all know how we do. Get to praying for this young man. And the problem is, the police didn't arrest this man immediately. They let him stay home because, you know, it's Kansas City, Missouri. He had a gun. He was in his home. Unprovoked shooting. So what happened was the mass protest began, right? And we were out in numbers in front of his house, again, chanting, shouting, civil disobedience. And then the police finally arrest him and they say, oh, no, we were going to arrest him the whole time. I promise. We just gave him a 24-hour arrest reprieve. A what? A 24-hour? Huh? I know bullshit when I hear it. So they wonder why we have to operate with civil disobedience, because if we do not, that old white man would have been home watching. What time is it? Price is Right. With no problem whatsoever. So pray for the young man. And this goes back to why we had the issue with our young Cornel West. A few weeks ago, we talked about the Tennessee Three that decided to kind of storm the Tennessee House of Representatives and say, hey, we need to do something about gun laws. Now, that was for a mass shooting, which we're not even going to talk about what happened in Alabama, because that's all we have to deal with right now is one and a half mass shootings a day on average so far in 2023. Anyway, so Justin Pearson went out and he had a speech, and yeah, I'm not really a fan of the speech itself, but oh, you knew Republicans could not wait to get their hands on this. Play the goddamn clip.
Justin Pearson wasn't white, that's probably how he got into Bowdoin in the first place, but he did a fantastic impression of it. What a nice young man. Has he considered the apprenticeship program at Citibank? That was the old Justin Pearson before his transition. Here he is now on the floor of the Tennessee State House.
All hope seemed to be lost. Representatives were thrown out of the State House. Democracy seemed to be at its end. Seemed like the NRA and gun lobbyists might win. But oh, that was good news for us. I don't know how long this Saturday in the state of Tennessee might last. But oh, we have good news, folks. We've got good news that Sunday always comes.
Justin Pearson has a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, everyone will do exactly what he wants or else face indictment by the Department of Justice. Justin Pearson has changed quite dramatically, as you can see. He transitioned from a crypto white kid into the modern incarnation of Martin Luther King Jr. himself. It's remarkable, really. But he's not alone in that. You see this all the time. Everybody in the Democratic Party wants to be Martin Luther King at this point. Even Joe Biden, who during the famous March on Washington was enjoying the many benefits of life as a college student in a racially segregated state. Now, he's MLK. They all are. But you got to ask yourself, as long as we're mimicking civil rights leaders who died almost 60 years ago, why not some variety? You never see politicians transition into, say, Malcolm X. Why is that? Maybe because Malcolm X didn't talk like a sharecropper. He spoke dignified standard English. He wasn't running a shakedown racket to fleece guilty white liberals. Malcolm X had self-respect, so he despised guilty white liberals, and he said so. He believed in self-improvement. He knew who the enemy was.
I bet you never thought you'd see the day where a white man would say, hey, we miss Malcolm X. Because I damn sure didn't. So what happened is, I may not be a fan of how Justin Pearson decided to take that moment and expand it. But it's a very black thing, right? It's a very black thing, very black preachery thing. It's not a Martin Luther King thing. And I think the problem is, we see first Tucker start off with this. Remember when he looked like a good old black boy that we liked? Now he's got a fro and now we're scared of this little nigga. It's the revisionist history that white people like to do with things to make it fit whatever narrative that they want. So to say, oh man, we want Malcolm X because Malcolm X said, hey, black people got to do better. And this is a Tucker Carlson quote, because he knew who the enemy was, which is in itself a very powerful statement, because he's literally letting you know that he knows that he thinks we are the enemy. That's the attack. But let's talk about revisionist history and how white people get their hands on it, because they do this shit all the time. First, they like to do it with Thanksgiving. Yes. Remember when we were in elementary school and we used to cut out the little black hat and put a little buckle on it and color it with the yellow crayon and think that this was the most peaceful moment in U.S. history, that the Pilgrims came over, the Indians said, how? No, it's a fucked up joke, but I had to take it. And they sat down, had dinner, and it began the peaceful relationship between whites and Indians, and not the beginning of mass genocide? Okay, beyond Thanksgiving, let's go to the Civil War. This is an amazing movie, but not this Civil War, not this one. This Civil War, where they will let you believe and they will tell you that the narrative of this Civil War was states' rights, right? This particular war was fought because the states thought that the federal government had too many rights and that they were defending their freedom. And that's almost correct. Outside of it was the states' rights to own slaves and their freedom to keep slaves. Because at this time, the federal government was beginning to enforce freedom on slavery, or basically abolition. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied right now. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, the federal government said slavery is foul. We got to stop it. And the South said, nah, fuck that. And we will fight you to the death to keep these niggas down here. Okay? Or we can talk about their favorite president, Ronald Reagan. Oh, good old Ronald Reagan. The best president that the U.S. has ever had. And they will not tell you that he was the biggest drug lord ever in United States history, that he was single-handedly responsible for the crack epidemic of the late 70s, early 80s, that he destroyed multiple black communities, neighborhoods. They will not tell you he fought a secret war that the Congress said, hey, we can't fight this war. He was like, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell drugs, get an arms trade with Iran, send it back down to the Contras, fight this war, and say, fuck you. No, they won't do any of that shit. Because what they want to do is make it fit the one narrative that they have, and that's the importance of revisionist history. But what we will not allow you to do is do this to Dr. King and Malcolm X. You've already done it to Dr. King. They made him seem like he was a good old boy. But what happened in the recent past was a lot of videos started coming out and people started actually understanding what Dr. King's position was, and that, A, the U.S. needs to pay up because they owe. The U.S. has to do better. And there became this big shout of accountability from what Dr. Martin Luther King was saying his whole entire career. And that did not make white people happy, because why is Dr. King in our fucking history books? Damn, Facebook algorithm. Why is Dr. King in our history books? Because he was supposed to be the good old boy. That's the one they taught us about, right? They taught us about the good old boy. Malcolm X is in none of your history books. Do you know why Malcolm X is in none of your history books? Because they're terrified of him. Malcolm X knew white people weren't to be trusted, called them out, said, hey, what we will do is protect our communities by any means necessary. Now, yes, there was some self-accountability that came with the Nation of Islam and that black people had to improve, and that is a truism. That is a truism, but that is not the complete story of who Malcolm X was and what he said. Okay? So we're not going to allow you to revise his history, but what we will do is put you on alert, because when you have things like a Ralph Yarl, who just went to pick up his siblings getting shot in his head, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for black people to protect each and one of our own by any means necessary, since we want to quote Malcolm X. And that is our time for Comedy Trap House News today.
Want to go through some comments?
Yeah, I mean, are there any comments? Anyone?
There's a couple today.
Answering
that.
Oh yeah, Big Sis Chris, we know what they did to Malcolm X. They got him out here quick, under the jail, racism. Listen, here's the problem, Antoinette. Anytime white people can spit their racist rhetoric on TV because they do it in certain guises. They say it in certain ways that we cannot react, right? So, for example, the word thug for all of these years was basically nigga in secret, right? because you never heard them refer to white people as thug. The thugs were only black people, so it was their off way of saying niggas, right? Now, what's their new thing? Patriots. Oh, calling all patriots. We love patriots. Basically, it's saying like we want white racist. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for patriots. And so they've found ways to be as blatantly racist as they can be, as they want to be, without saying the words that would get them in trouble with the FCC, or hot words that will make other white people go, oh, no, because all white people can say thugs. But if Tucker Carlson came out and was like, nigga, please, the world would be in an uproar. But that's basically what he does every day. He just doesn't say, nigga, please. Listen, Ramona, Snowfall is a phenomenal show, and my sis Gail's on it, so we're going to shout out to Gail. But this is definitely all Reagan. If you watch season 1, remember when shit got big, it was like, oh, we got quotas to get. We got to move work. That Ronald Reagan sat at the top of all of that. All that moving. Illegal airports that legitimately flew cocaine into the States, which some are still operable to this day, but we'll talk about that at another time. This was big business. Thanks, Joseph. Trump lit this flame. Trump is partially responsible for this flame. I'll tell you what lit the flame. What lit the flame was the election of President Barack Obama. God honest truth. That's what lit the flame. The flame was white people elected Barack Obama and they thought racism was over, right? And so when things started to go awry and not the way that they wanted to, you started seeing the beginning of disrespect, right? Never in the history of any president have they called him by his name until Barack Obama, right? They didn't like Bill Clinton. They called him President Bill Clinton. They called him Mr. President. They called him President George Washington. We, black people, we said we fuck up the Bush, but as a whole, as a nation, as a totality, they never ever disrespected the office of the president. It was never a thing until Barack Obama was that president, right? Then all of a sudden he was a Muslim, he was a terrorist, he was a nigga. So that is actually the beginning seeds of that. Donald Trump is nothing but backlash, Freudian slip. That's the white people's response to having a black president. And everything subsequently after that is still really just backlash from what happened by putting, one, a black president in office and an effective black president in office. History is going to vet out who Obama was over time. But if you listen to Republicans to this day, they will call him a feckless president, even though he saved the world from financial ruin. Yeah.
CJ, the Iran-Contra and Barry Seal.
Oh, well, the Iran-Contra, that's the conversation of Ronald Reagan and running that. So that was that war. And yeah, all of those political cartoons, you've never seen anything on a scale of disrespect that you saw with President Barack Obama. And now everything that we're dealing with after that, the country legitimately trying to rewind itself to 1950 to wash the black taste out of its mouth, is what we're watching and dealing with and experiencing right now. If that's all on comments, is that all on comments? I think so. Yeah.
Shout out to Cam. It's his birthday today.
Shout out to Cam. Happy birthday. My dude, he might be a little bit sore because we put that work in yesterday at the gym. That's our time at Comedy Trap House News. It's your boy Marvin Telp. Peace.